Hello there. I haven't made a video about COVID for a little while, so I figured I'd make one. I haven't been following up on the news too much in the last little while. It's one big long propaganda piece. Anyway, watched a little bit of it today, and this was a name I'd heard of before, but Dr. Henry, a woman who speaks out for COVID-19 and all the precautions and overall calmness and kindness and what the government's doing or what little they're telling us what they're doing. I have opinions on that based on my 5 minutes worth of research, or studying, I should say. Research would be going out and figure out things for yourself. Studying is when you learn stuff that other people already knew. And that's definitely the case with Dr. Henry. By my standards, she's an old bag. But there are going to be people working in the administration that have found that she has sex appeal. This has been hinted in the media because they've dedicated a pair of shoes to her. And that immediately shows signs of vanity. And it's one of those things that is so grossly hypocritical of this entire system. Now, first things first. Bureaucrats, particularly the ones in the medical institution, are not nice people. They're assholes. They're the people who create diseases like that on purpose for malicious reasons. They chose this woman to be the face of the BC Medical Institution to explain to people what they should be thinking in regards to COVID-19. Now, I'll say it. This is more of a personal attack against her character, which is nothing that the bureaucrats wouldn't do towards their enemies, as far as belittling whatever argument they may have against her criticisms. So, yes, I am going to point out some things, and rather than the work that they're doing, I'm going to criticize some key points to explain why they're not entirely right. This new shoe brand, I'd never heard of them before. They've been around for a long time, evidently. Flu Flog. Sounds stupid to me. It doesn't sound like a store I'd go into. Anyway, I had to look. I had to specifically ask what Google words in order to navigate their website to find out where the shoes are made. And lo and behold, they are made in third world countries. They try to say, Peru and Mexico. But as people know, when you hear the word third world country in shoes, it's not usually Peru and it's not usually Mexico. Most people would rather buy from them, let's be honest here, instead of where shoes are mostly made, which would be China and Vietnam. China is the country that created this virus. I don't think it was by fluke. I think they did it. I might have believed that at one point, but I don't anymore. Because these exact same type of people who work in the medical system also work in the military factions, and they create diseases like this. You see it in the media everywhere. There's the Resident Evils, there's the quarantine movies, there's 28 Weeks Later. This is definitely on the mindset of the medical system. They are a branch of that thing. And they were trying to post a gentle image of their authoritarianism. However, you don't have to look far to see other countries, particularly in Europe, where they have taken things too far. And this government here in Canada is not exempt from that type of authoritarianism if they should choose to. They don't have to at the moment because things seem to be going rather well as COVID-19 is in decline for the most part in Canada. Not exactly how they painted it on the media from what I heard today, but that would seem the kind of message they want to send as they're taking your rights away, that they're caring, that they really have the common everyday man's or woman's best interest in mind, when nobody actually believes this. There were other professors that went up and spoke, and when they did, they tried to say they were shoulder to shoulder with the working people and the lesser gentry. Let's not beat around the bush here. And for a damn fact that they are so far apart from us, if anything bad were happening, they would be long gone and we'd still be here. I do believe that the measures they're taking are extremely draconian. It doesn't matter if it's the velvet glove in the iron fist or whatever, however that expression goes. It's the same thing. And these shoes, okay, they could have been made in Canada, I suppose. According to the website, they've already sold out and there were only 200 pairs. But realistically, they could bring that back at any point in time and more people will buy them. And they weren't particularly cheap either. And we only have their word that the money's going to wherever it's going. The medical establishment lies all the time. It's part of their doctrine. They think that somehow that makes them better people. It makes their jobs easier. Yada, 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 yada. And it's like, if you're a known liar, then, if you're in a position of authority, then odds are you're doing things that people would label as, being an asshole or something. And this entire feel-good story out of a bad thing, and then you try to bring in something that you're saying is going for donations to another medical institution. I think it was a children's hospital or something like that. That always pulls the heartstrings, doesn't it? And it's the same bureaucratic system. Nobody even knows if that's where it's going or not, other than them. And the hypocritical nature that slaves made those shoes, because that's another thing, we're not beating around the bush here. Slaves made those shoes, not people, slaves. And for what? To slap lipstick on a pig? There's only so many ways that you can explain this situation. And there are going to be people who don't want to hear it, that want to believe the government tells them the truth about everything, and they're what you call, they're wrong. It's as simple as that. And, people are, when things are bad, they're always looking for the feel-good stories. And these are the supposed feel-good stories. Nobody here in BC's, or not many people, I should say, are feeling extreme negative consequences from this virus. Just inconveniences. And, the rabbit hole goes far deeper than that. I have said that, yes, I believe that this was a countermeasure to Donald Trump's trade war with China. China didn't like the idea that we wouldn't be buying their plastic. didn't like the idea we'd be doing less business with them because over there they are monsters. I mean, we have our monsters over here, but they're at least a little bit more tolerable. They'll do anything, and their people really are slaves. I mean, around these parts, it's quite easy to be in a job where you're like a slave. You're paid a little bit better, but essentially you're a slave than someone who, works in a factory for hours on end and lives in squalid conditions and all the other bad things that, this government tries to disguise. And I mean, here is the giant news story of the world, this virus, and they're pitching a bunch of lies, and they are so easy to see that it's a wonder how many stupid people are walking the streets. You wouldn't believe how many ridiculous outfits I've seen people wearing. You want to wear a mask? Good for you. You want to dress head to toe in spandex like the Green Men from the Vancouver Canucks? Then you've got some mental health problems. Yeah. So I don't know where these particular shoes were made, to get back onto that topic. I would assume it wasn't made in Asia and they made an effort to make them in Mexico or something like that to make it a little more plausible. Who knows? I'm never going to own a pair of those shoes, and I have little inclination into looking into it further. One thing must be made quite clear. Basically, high-paid medical officials are the scum of the earth. They don't care about anybody or anything so long as they advance their for the greater good mentality. And they're not stupid people. They're simply wrong. They're wrong about a lot of things. However, it wasn't so long ago when other wrong things were done and they came in on their high horses and supposedly saved the day while doing the bad things and learning lessons from history. Women in the medical profession, let's be honest, without men, they would not be where they are. Because for centuries, men controlled and dominated the medical system. And they were able to learn so much more than women were because women were suppressed and it was a very unfair, unjust thing to do. However, this Dr. Henry is a poster bitch. That's why they're trying to make the feel-good story and, for older men, to figure her as kind of a, a little bit of, ugh. Anyway. Yeah, I think this conversation is, starting to irritate me. So, I'm a little bit tired of seeing all the stupid people, rather than I'm lacking the words to describe it, unfortunately. Something irritating about seeing people who are stupid all the time, and this COVID-19 is bringing that out in people. I refuse to live in a paranoid world where there is no justification for what they're paranoid for other than at smaller scale for something much larger that you could be paranoid about, or you could go about your day-to-day life. One or the other. And this virus is not the worst virus in the world. The worst virus in the world is in a laboratory, and it was used as leverage by the Chinese government to ensure that everything at least stays the same, or if not, the pendulum goes more into their direction. It's a big twisted spider web of confusion, lies, deceit, moronic displacement, and authoritarianism. And, you know, in the right hands, that might not necessarily be a bad thing. However, this government right here, right now, absolutely not. A lot of people criticize the American government, and it's like, yeah, you can find criticism in other places. So, you know, that's something to think about anyway. That it's all oversimplified, and it's designed to rot your brain. And I really pity those people who can't see through this thinly veiled problem. Anyway, talk to you people later. Have a good one. And as per usual, especially as I was talking about the medical system, I'm going to do the exact opposite of what they want me to do. I'm going to have a beer. And another one. As fun as it would be to get drunk in front of the camera and who knows who's watching, I think I'll tail this video off here. Anyway, have a good one.